This tool takes wood off at an astonishing pace. It is a phenomenal tool, and I will show you just what it does once we go through the process of building one. So guys, if this is something, it's not an if, guys, you want this in your shop. It was a one-day build. Follow along with me and I'll show you how I did it. Know this tool, it's a scraper. It's just a regular cabinet scraper. And when you raise an edge on this piece of spring steel, it will ribbon off the wood from the belly of your bow like the sharpest blade you've ever experienced. The idea behind a scraper shave is to get it set like in a handle. Here's just like a riser piece that I haven't used, but in effect, I'm going to take this particular scraper that I have. All right, this cabinet scraper. It's going to be my sacrificial scraper. I'm going to actually cut it into 3 pieces. Hopefully you can see the lines that I drew on there with some Sharpie marker. This center section right here is going to be the section for the scraper that I'm making now, the little scraper shave. And what it does is it holds that steel at a 90-degree angle to the work surface. Okay? And what we will do is then put a 45-degree angle on the exposed surface, so 45 on the back side like this, cut like that. And then we're going to raise a burr on that 45-degree angle, okay, right across here, just a little bit sharper, and that burr then becomes that scraper blade that, even though it's at vertical, that blade's going to dig in just the slightest bit, and you can ride this tool, you should be able to ride the tool along the belly surface of your bow, kind of like a spoke shave, but it's going to take off a much finer ribbon than a spoke shave will. So spoke shave can tend to get bogged down in the grain of a piece of wood. This particular tool should actually work such that the grain isn't going to play such a negative effect when you go to scrape off layers of wood on your belly.
Right now I'm just grinding in that 45-degree angle here.
Got a really nice 45-degree edge on there, and that'll it'd cut my finger. So we got a pretty good polish on there. We're gonna burnish just flat against the front side. So this is a single bevel. So we're just sharpening, or going with our burnishing tool and just taking that edge and just stiffening it up, and then we're going to turn against the bevel, and we don't want to put too much pressure behind it. I think that's the key to doing this right. We're going to put just a slightly sharper angle against that, and we're going to rub along our sharp edge. Oh baby, oh yeah. See it leaving chunks of my fingernail on there? That there's sharp. Going on here, I have a piece of hickory, a piece of ipe, which is the same thickness, this direction anyway. The ipe is going to be the sole of my tool, and I'm using ipe, of course, because it's just a real tough, fine-grained wood, and I'm not using brass. It's going to be sandwiched in here just like this. Now, all of my parts are oversized because I want to be able to work on it without worrying about, being able to grip and handle the pieces that I'm working on. I'm to then try and recess this blade into my main body of my blade scraper here, and then leave enough room with my toe to just run screws through, right, and connect it, and then allow the blade to protrude at the bottom. Now, I don't want it to finish just like this. Right, like this, I think this would do the job, but I don't want it to finish like this because there's nowhere for the ribbons of wood to go, kind of like a plane, right, like a wood plane, which means we need to kind of create a throat right in here on this piece. Kind of see the little cutout right there. Hold this in place. It's a little wider than I would have liked. It should fit snugly, but this is what I got. It's just barely proud on the edges, so I know that when we clamp on top of it, it's going to hold it tight, but not be, you know, loose on the sides. Now working on this piece, which is going to be 3.5 inches long, which gives me 1/4 inch on each side, which makes it square basically, to attach. So that's how it's going to attach with the screws then on each side. Okay guys, so we got our center mark marked out, and the easiest way to figure that out, if we've got a 2-inch wide something and we want it to have an 1/8 inch purchase on there, we're going to go out a whole inch minus 1/8, right? So 1 inch minus 1/8. I'm gonna have my throat opening about that tall. Now we got to have this measured out. Those are going to be our cut lines, more or less, right there and there. And then the depth on the bottom is going to be just enough to allow those shavings to come through. Somewhere along those lines. So I'm going to cut to this depth on this side and just barely through on the other side. And this is part of why I left it long over here. So I'm able to work this material. And it's going to be important that I don't go wide on these cuts like I did on the cuts with the hickory. So definitely being on the inside of these lines. So what I've done here, guys, is I've cut slots across the way that finish on the one line on this side, and then just a little bit more on this side. Then we're going to go in and knock this out kind of like we did with the other cutout. Worked them out with the chisel, and then finished up with a file. And I don't really see the need for it to be perfect, you know, at least in here. So you can see I've got a small throat, larger space for the everything to come out. So this is kind of how this is going to look. So it's going to hold the blade in tight on either side, and then it's going to have just this exposed space right here. So as we address that tool across the work surface, the shavings can come out through the top, through that little mouth right there. Picked up some hardware. So little screws that'll go on with a thumb tighten knot, or nut rather. And what I think I'm going to do is countersink the head of this screw post into the body of my tool, and then epoxy it, and then I'll be able to adjust my tool from the front side here, just like this. Okay, I am literally just going to eyeball this. I want to get like center of my 3/4, and not like in the finished tool anybody'd ever be able to know that we didn't put a precise measure on there. Let me get this side. Flush clamps holding everything together here. And my new drill bit that's going to then cut all the way through to the front side. So I'm not even going to bother epoxying these guys in, at least not at the moment, because it doesn't seem to require it. So if you'll look, I mean, everything is put together pretty smoothly, or in alignment, so it'll go together. It just don't like to come back apart very well, because the fit is so exact, I guess, or tight. I can get my blade in there and just barely sticking out. Put my brass hardware on. That's just a neat look right there. All right, so got just a couple more pieces of hickory put together here. They're the same width as what I was using. Clean surface to glue, rough surface on the outside, because we're just going to be working that in anyway. I'm going to put some tape on here. The last thing I need to do is like glue my glue this thing into place. All right, so just going to cover these edges right here so that the glue doesn't come in contact with the shoe here. All right, just got a piece of cardboard from a 12-pack holder. We'll just set those right in there like this. Hold everything separated. All right. I am going to be careful not to put too much glue up near here anyway. And that glue job is finished at that point. All right. So our glue should be dry at this point. Went ahead and removed the sole plate just to ensure that I didn't have any issues as far as gluing it in place. Everything will fit back together just fine. There's no hang-ups there, and that's even with the tape in place here.
All right, so finished finished her with some tongue oil. Let that cure for a day, and then came back and put a coat of paste wax on there. Hopefully, that'll kind of help the tool skate across, the surface that it's working. Now I just got to put everything together. There's the finished product right there. Now to try it out on some material. This is some serious wood removal right here. This really is some pretty serious wood removal right there. And I don't know here if you can hear it. Like it is crunchy. It's thick enough to be crunchy. Like this is good stuff right there. Holy cow. Can run it against the grain. Yeah. Oh yeah. Guys, this will make quick work. Very quick work. Tillering work on any belly. This right here is hickory. Definitely worth the effort to put it together. And it went pretty quick. This was not a difficult build at all, guys. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and going through this. We will have to get started on the bow again, on the bow that I'm in the middle of working on, because it took a little time away since the weather was so cold. So, anyway, guys, yeah, there you go. I'll catch up with all of you guys next week, where we'll start the tillering on the hickory longbow, board bow.